This is Trevor Sternad from the Black Dahlia Murder here, and you're listening to the Everblack podcast.
Hey, humans, Carl, this is odorous from Guam.
Going to the Fear Factory.
This is George Corshun Fisher.
This is Jazz from Double Drop.
This is Wade from Our Last Enemy.
Mike Nick from Suicidal Tendencies.
Hey, this is Wednesday 13. This is Bruce. This is Rex from Kill Devil Hill. This is Gary from Sepultura, and you're listening to Everblack podcast.
Before we go into this episode of the Everblack podcast, we just need to give a shout out to our show supporters, the occult clothing brand Electric Witch, who have amazing apparel from shirts to hoodies to hats to beanies, dresses and more. Check out their full range at electricwitch.com.au and put in the code Everblack for 20% off your order. Also, don't forget to subscribe, rate and review the Everblack podcast on Spotify and iTunes podcast streams, and see all our video interviews on the Everblack YouTube channel. You can also read all our articles and reviews at everblack.com.au. All right, on with the show. All right, well, Jamie, thanks for joining us on the show, brother. You staying safe down there? How's the weather? Is it as shitty as
It's all right. It's been pretty wild though. Like, yeah, there was a lot of flooding yesterday. I'm in the inner west, so yeah, the flooding's not super intense here, but in other parts of Sydney, it's been nuts. Like, yeah, just rivers in the streets. Yeah,
getting like that up here. It's been
right.
Absolutely crazy. But hey, man, we're getting there.
Yeah, that's good.
But of course, your band Intrøspect have just released your new EP, Midnight Sun, and it's a big cinematic, epic 29-minute journey. Now, I've listened to it a few times, and it's definitely, it feels like it sparks that part in my brain where it's like the imagination. It takes me on a massive journey. Was it like that for you?
Well, that's good to hear. I mean, yeah, I think, the philosophy in terms of like why we write music and the feelings that we're going for when we're trying to, create music, you definitely want an epic cinematic feeling. We're interested in exploring like a breadth of feelings, from like calm, intimate moments to like the massive statements that metal is kind of known for making. So we're always trying to dance in between those two things. And I guess, the result is this feeling of a journey, which is good. Yeah. If it's sparking the imagination, that's awesome.
Yeah, man. It's really hard to describe, but there's a visual side to it. I mean, obviously you're a very visual band as well, but when I listen to it from the moment of that Carl Sagan sample, and then just, man, it took me places, and that's very rare these days for music. You know what I mean? Like, you put stuff on the car and you just headbang away, it's something really quite special, brother.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind. I mean, in terms of the visual side of things, it might have something to do with, I guess, like my background in writing the music. I mean, everyone has a part in writing the music, but certainly the feelings, the origins of the songs. For my work, I'm a cinematographer, so I do lots of stuff within film, and part of that job is to look at a script and break down sort of, what's going on in the story, and then figure out the best lighting or camera work, or the ways that you can dress up that world visually, and what visual elements I guess complement a story. And so in the same way, like writing music, it's always visually driven. So like if there's a song that we're working on, I'm hearing it over and over again, there's always a certain visual feeling that's going along with that informs the process, I guess. And so that makes it obviously quite easy to make music videos that make sense for the music. Because I think it's always hand in hand. I think it's also, I don't know, some people have referred to it as cinematic. I think that's that same feeling that people are talking about, where there's a sort of visual or story element that comes along with the music. Yeah,
it's awesome. I love it, dude. And of course, as I mentioned, the EP starts off with that Carl Sagan sample. Where does that come into it? How does that influence, the theme of the album, the EP and everything like that?
I guess it starts with Cosmic Arena. The name itself is lifted from the Carl Sagan speech. It's quite famous. I don't know if you know the backstory of it, but essentially Carl Sagan wrote a small couple paragraphs about looking at this image of the Earth that was captured by the Voyager spacecraft as it was leaving the solar system. And it's this big, epic sort of empty void, and there's like a lens flare, the sun's hitting the camera lens, and then there's just this tiny little pixel. That's the Earth. You know,
dot.
and so, yeah, the pale blue dot, you know, it's a big perspective check that absolutely everything that we care about, that we hold dear in our lives, and all that any human being has ever done in history is encapsulated in that little space. So it gives you this feeling of smallness in the sense that, our existence here is not as huge as this big tapestry or this big mystery. But at the same time, it means that what we do matters because we're fragile. The Earth's fragile. And yeah, we should look after it. So, I mean, yeah, it kind of plays into the cyclical nature of the EP in that it starts off with explorations of, personal turmoil as well as like environmental concerns. And then it sort of comes out into a more positive feeling towards the end, processing that information or those stories into something more positive. The statement, I guess, isn't that, what we, you can look at that picture and say, oh, be a nihilist and say, oh, like the Earth's tiny, none of this matters. Or you can look at it and say, well, it's the fragility that makes, what we do, I guess, important, and the steps that you take important, and in preserving the Earth or thinking about this stuff. So yeah, it's just meant to give like cosmic perspective, like an overview of the of all the stories are contained within, that dot or the Earth.
I love it.
I don't know if that answers your question, but
no, it does. No, perfectly.
Right.
But what about the title? How's that playing to it too?
The title of the EP or of,
yeah. Midnight Sun.
Yeah, so Midnight Sun. Yeah, it's essentially sort of plays into this idea of it comes from the Midnight Sun itself is a real phenomenon. It's something that happens in polar regions. So if you're a certain degree of latitude north or south in the summer, the sun will never sort of set below the horizon even at midnight. So if you're in summer in like northern Finland, for example, the sun shines all day for, a couple of months at least. And yeah, that to me is a really interesting idea from a metaphorical sort of perspective. And the metaphorical perspective is that, no matter how dark a night gets, there's always some thing that you can hold on to, some glimmer of hope, some silver lining to a cloud. And so, yeah, that sort of plays into what we're exploring through the songs, that they're not cut and dry, ultra happy, positive tunes, but they do contain that hope, that note of hope in there, whereby like whatever dark theme is being explored, there's also some light that can be found, lessons that can be learned through bad experiences, or wisdom that can be gained through making mistakes. And so, yeah, Midnight Sun is sort of about that. It's sort of optimistic, but at the same time, not denying the suffering of life. Yeah.
When you write the lyrics, is that right?
Yes.
So does that come first? Do you sort of sit down and flesh out those concepts before you pick up the guitar and stuff like that? Well, how's that process for you?
Yeah, interestingly, I've not talked to any songwriter who has the same process. I guess everyone's different, but for me, it starts with a title, actually, a title and a feeling. So the title comes first, and the feeling that we want to explore through that comes with that. And usually, start demoing stuff, writing in various writing software plus doing demos, and usually the lyrics will develop in parallel, but usually the lyrics in their initial form are fully baked before the exact structure of the song. But yeah, the words guide the feeling, and the feeling guides our goals for the later stages of songwriting, where the other guys join in and things start to get really fleshed out. But I guess, the feeling or the words themselves are sort of a framework or a seed.
That's awesome. And of course, you work with George Lever for the mix of the EP.
Yes.
This thing sounds incredible. Like, it's really cool. Like, when I've been driving to work, that's where I get my music time. I just cranked it up, and it sounds awesome. You must have been stoked when you got that back. that first mix.
Absolutely, yeah, blown away by George's work. I mean, we thought it was a long shot getting him to work on the record in the first place. We're all big fans of everything that he's done. Particularly, I mean, just looking at George's the last couple of projects he's worked on, everything he touched seems to be gold. So we wanted to get on board with him, and also just because, yeah, he was good at doing the specific sound that we were after. And yeah, he killed it. He had an approach to mixing drums that was much different to how Chris, the guy, Chris Blancato, who recorded with us this time and produced the record, how he approaches mixing stuff, and drums especially, was different. So the soundscapes just got this new depth. And then there's a lot of additional production that George did. So he added sort of the strings and stars. And I mean, the strings were there in some form, but he really fleshed them out and put in these really complex arrangements, which suited the songs. Mainly what we loved about George's work is that there were moments, you know, the big spacious moments where there's a certain vibe or feeling that we're going for. And you don't really know whether it's nailed until you hear it in a mix, and there's all the little things sort of add up. And so hearing those sections back, getting them back from George and knowing that they had like landed was just a really cool feeling. And we're so pleased with his work.
When you heard it for the first time, did you do it with the headphones, or did you just get in the car, or what did you sort of do to sort of absorb that for the first time?
I was always just so excited to get a mix back from George that I would just listen to it wherever I was, and you know, whether that be like headphones or in my car stereo, but you know, when it came time to, you know, really trying to figure out what's going on, and sending mix notes back, it was always on studio monitors. And we'd sometimes do that together, where we'd get together and listen to the songs and be like, okay, what could come up here, what can go down. But mostly George has done a great job. But yeah, to answer your question, yeah, wherever I was at the time that I saw that the mix was available, that's you know, that determined how I listened to it.
That's awesome. And of course, you know, you mentioned before, you know, you're a cinematographer, you know, and filmmaker. You wear a lot of hats, man. You're not wearing a hat now, you're wearing headphones, but
No.
you're a man of many talents, you know. So what came first for you? What was it music?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's difficult. I mean, the common thread is I always felt like I had something to say creatively, and there are a number of mediums through which I wanted to express that. So I actually started with writing, you know, the lyric stuff. I mean, the earliest things I did that were creative were writing, and I still obviously like to do that. I guess, yeah, I've just loved metal since I was like very young, and wanted to play guitar for a long time. So I started when I was 12, and so I guess I was playing guitar a lot earlier than when I started practicing as a filmmaker and shooting stuff. That kind of happened, really took off when I finished high school, got a camera, started going out to metal shows and filming them and stuff, you know. So I guess the music came first. Yeah. But, you know, I see the film stuff more as like a job or a vocation. It's still very rewarding, but it's, you know, there's a lot of technical elements to what I'm trained in to do as a job. Music for me is, you know, it'd be great if the band takes off and I can just do that full time. But until then, I mean, music's in this column of like, it's just a hobby. It's more than a hobby. It's a reason for living, as I'm probably sure you're.
I get it.
You get it. So, and you know, so I invest heaps of time, energy, money, all that stuff into the band and into music because, it just makes me, it's just so, so it's just pure, wonderful expression of creativity. It's not bound up by a need to, like, you know, earn money or make a living or have a career or whatever. If the band takes off, then great. If not, I'm just happy to be making and performing music. It's just, it's more just like pure joyful thing as opposed to a career.
And I think that's, you know, you almost finished saying the H word before, hobby. But
hobby,
it's to me, I don't know, man. I don't like that word when it comes to music. I think it's sort of like, oh, that's it. You know, it's like your workmates go, oh, it's your little hobby. It's more than that, and I know it's more than that. Stop using that word, people. It's a filthy word because there's a more depth to it. You know, it's you know, it's true. That's where the passion is. So I get
absolutely.
it. I totally get it.
Yeah, it's not really the right way of looking at it for people who actually live and breathe music. It's more than that. I don't know what I would do if I didn't have music in my life.
That's right. That's exactly right, mate. It's not, not a sports team on the weekend. It's more than that. There you go.
Yeah.
Not putting that down for those people out there, but you know what I mean. But what came first for you though? Like, what was the first band that sort of sparked that I need to do this? I need to pick that guitar up and shred.
Well, I mean, interest in metal came before the desire to play guitar. For me, first band I was ever really into was Linkin Park. Album Meteora.
Yep.
Blew me away. It's been a journey since then. But through Linkin Park, I got kind of into, I guess sort of heavier stuff. Through like Breaking Benjamin, a lot of new metal, and then it was really when I started getting into metalcore when I was about like I think 13, or when I thought like this is sick. I need to play guitar. So it was like bands like Amity Affliction, Asking Alexandria, Of Mice and Men, all these sort of like metalcore bands that were kind of popping off in the 2000s era. It was seeing that guitar, the way that guitars could be used for like breakdowns, that high gain sound. Bring Me the Horizon is another good example. Those are all bands that were kind of a way in to me, and then opened up into prog and all this other stuff. Sorry, it's not super specific.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it started with metalcore.
Hey, there you go, and it's definitely evolved. You've got that, as we mentioned before, you got that cinematic feel to the music. Have you thought about scoring soundtracks and stuff like that? Is that something that's you want to do later down the road? Or have done?
I've thought about it. I mean, it's definitely quite a complicated job. I know a number of film composers, and it's a bit more than, I guess, what I do. Again, like I was saying, the stuff with Intrøspect is just purely creative in the sense that it's like, it's a feeling or a vibe that I want to communicate through music. Whereas scoring, it's got its own technical things in the sense where it's like you're essentially composing music to achieve a certain feeling that's already baked into whatever you're doing. And that's quite difficult. Like with shooting, for example, it is difficult to understand someone else's vision, to interpret it faithfully, and to do a good job for the director, whoever your client or whoever you're working for. It's a bit of a rabbit hole. I mean, I've thought about it, but I've not really gone much further than that. It's too much keeping me busy at the moment.
Hey, you're a busy dude. I mean, you guys just got signed to Destroy All Lines as well, which is awesome. That's great. Shout out to those guys, because they've been like through this whole last 12 months. I've been noticing with them that they've been really like going strong and really supporting a lot of bands and keeping things rolling behind the scenes, which is awesome. So, how's it been working with those guys?
We signed to the agency a month or two ago. We haven't sort of actioned any tour decisions about tours or shows that have come in from them yet. We're still trying to work out our EP launch stuff, and again, there's a bit of uncertainty around when new tours can be planned and stuff. A lot of the stuff that's coming through now is stuff that was in the works before COVID, and it's now getting a second run. We're looking out for support slots on those things. It would be great to support like Thornhill, or like some of those heavier bands that are starting to do tours again on the East Coast. That would be sick. We haven't really done too much with them yet. It's just something that's in our pocket when live music starts kicking off again. I mean, it's already started, but it's a slow process. People are starting to figure out what's possible and what's viable to plan for in the long term. So it remains to be seen.
Hey man, I think it is a positive thing happening right now. There's if not just quite there yet, but where it's great to see some bands from down south come up here and visit. We had Astro Death up here the other week, and Shatterbrain. That was awesome, man. It felt going and seeing a couple of bands, obviously smaller attendances and stuff like that. But man, it was great to see live music again, man. So I can't wait to see you guys up here.
We're hoping we can get up there soon. As soon as possible, really. Yeah, that'd be good.
You guys came up here last time, didn't you?
Yeah, we've never been to Queensland actually, just Melbourne and Sydney,
mate.
So yeah, we're waiting.
Gotta happen, brother.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you guys have definitely been doing a lot of stuff on the global scale. You're getting a lot of support from all over the shop, which is amazing. I mean, have you been noticing that you're paying close attention that, you know, in all these little pockets of the globe, you're getting messages and stuff like that?
It's lovely. I mean, we do get messages, support from around the world. Looking at the Spotify back end is pretty interesting too, seeing, you know, where people are listening from and stuff. It's nice that our music's well received in the States. I mean, that's a good sign. I think we have more listeners from the United States than we do from Australia at the moment, which is interesting and cool. I actually have a really strange anecdote. I have a family friend who was good friends with my family when I was growing up years ago, and their family, you know, since moved back to the States where they were from originally. And so this guy Will, he messaged me. God, it was like 6 months ago or something. He messaged me just randomly saying, "Hey, bro, so I was just catching up with a friend of mine from another state who's like into fishing, and we went fishing together. And he had this speaker, and the first song that he put on it was Earthrise." And I was like, "What?" Just this random bloke from the States, like, and he had to message me because that was just so random, you know. Little random things like that is pretty wild.
A little bit random, you know, when you go to the list and you go, okay, States, blah, blah. Where's the one place in the list that you like, you know, random country, and you're like, where the hell is that? Has there been somewhere like that?
Seem to have a reasonable amount of support in Russia, which I think is interesting. It makes sense. I mean, there's a big metal following there. But it still surprises us, you know. The Western countries, UK, US, Canada, Australia, you know, they don't. I mean, that's, to me, you know, seems like, you know, they're known markets for metal. But when you start to look at places like Russia, Indonesia, Brazil, like, we get random comments of supports of people saying like where they're from and stuff, and it's just, I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah, that's incredible, man. It must be such a good feeling. Of course, I mean, you played a show recently with Bad Moon Born, didn't you?
Yes, that was great.
They're good guys. Shout out to those.
Absolutely.
Giving lots of shout outs tonight. Hey guys, how are you going?
Yeah.
How was that show?
Oh, it was awesome. I mean, it was really the first show that I'd been to, you know, whether as like a patron or playing a show, since COVID, since COVID nightmare started, where it really felt like I was at a gig again. There were times where I'd been to shows that were like seated, and you see there's like live music being performed, but the vibe isn't really there. And this was mostly seated, but I know people moving around. There was a massive involvement from the crowd. People were really excited to be there, and the capacity had doubled for that seated area at Crowbar. So it really felt full, despite the fact that it was a seated event. It did feel like a full room. So the vibe was insane. And personally, like, I felt very confident playing that set. I had ages to practice, and you know, definitely the first couple of shows we played at Intrøspect, I was a lot of the time focusing on not like dying, screwing up these crazy guitar parts, but a lot more confident this time. And Bad Moon Born killed it. So it was a great night.
That's awesome, dude. It must be good to be back on stage though. That feeling, like, you know, when walking off, you must have been like, here we go.
Absolutely.
Back in action.
I remember like Loco and I, we got off the stage and we started packing up our gear, and we went up to the green room, and I chatted to him a bit just after. It was like a minute after we finished playing. And I was like, dude, I forgot it was possible to feel this good. I forgot how happy you could possibly get. You know, I was just, elated. So hopefully more stuff like that.
Do you get the post gig blues after a show? A couple of days, I'm always like really like, oh, bummer. I'm normal.
Yeah, I mean, there's a desire to go back.
Yeah.
To that, but yeah, I mean, not particularly. I miss it. I always am eager to get back on stage pretty much as soon as I'm off. But for me, it's a positive thing. And I think also just trying to remind myself that, performing live and all the stuff around that is a kind of a rare peak experience, at least for most people. So, just being mindful of that and not trying to wish that every night of my life I was playing some massive show. I mean, that'd be great, but it's rare. That's part of what makes it special.
That's true. That is true. And what else have you guys got cooking up for the year? You got any more show? Obviously, you got a launch to do.
At the moment, we're just we've only just finished the big PR press run for this EP. And that's been a lot of work. Felicity's been basically managing the band through all that, and I've been kind of doing all the video content, plus working on top of that. So it's been incredibly busy. I'm just trying to take some time off, like when I can, just to reflect on it all a bit and figure out what the next step is. Getting the EP launch organized is our main priority at the moment. Once that's sorted and the lineup's locked in, and we've got a date and all that stuff, the gears will start turning to get that machine up and running again. We haven't played most of the new songs live, so that will be rehearsing that and getting the set list kind of gelling a bit. I mean, those are all things that we're looking at. Right now, we just want to play as many shows as possible. So that's going to be our objective this year, now that the music's out.
Including coming to Queensland, brother.
Yes. I mean, that'll probably be one of the first places outside of Sydney.
Yeah.
So hopefully see you there.
Gold Coast. Well, I'm on the Goldie. So, you come down and play either Moe's or Vinny. Okay. Good times. Okay. Damn good times. Yeah. So we'll keep the beers nice and cold for you guys when you come down. But
please do.
In the meantime, mate, congratulations on this epic new EP. All the best to you and the rest of the band. And we'll have the links down here, as always. So awesome. Take care, brother. Thanks for hanging out on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been great. And hope to see you at the Goldie gig, whenever that is.
Yeah, I'll be there, man.